1 week out from the first ever MTV version of All Stars, the first ever themed version of All Stars, the return of the GOAT Challenge format Rivals, the return of legends like Ashley and Frank, a true mix of OGs to downright newbies, and hopefully, fingers crossed, the return of an over-the-top, overly dramatic and chaotic challenge season, because this thing has a lot of potential. We're power ranking, we're predicting, we are previewing in all of its hopeful glory, the challenge, All Stars, Rivals. Let's go. What up, my fellow challenge lovers? Welcome to The Challenge Historian, where we dive deep into all things MTV's The Challenge, past, present, or future. If it's happening in the Challenge universe, we are here to document it. I am your host and dedicated challenge historian, Jacob Hollaball. Thank you so very, very much for being here with me on this Wednesday. For me, you, whatever great day you are listening or watching, we are on the precipice of the Battle of the Eras reunion part 2 tonight, but that is not what we are here to discuss. We are here today because it is 1 week out from the challenge, All Stars, Rivals, whatever you want to call it, All Stars 5, Rivals 4, Rivals 6, whatever version you want to say, the challenge, All Stars, Rivals is here in 1 week. And that is what we are here to discuss today, to preview it all and get us ready for next week's, hopefully, amazing start to an amazing season. Before we dive in, quick programming notes. That Battle of the Eras reunion does have part 2 tonight. I will be watching. We will be discussing it in all things Battle of the Eras one final time. That podcast will be out sometime this weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, probably Sunday. I think I'll record Saturday, but it might be too late to post. So we will get that out likely on Sunday. The full season recap, awards, plus some reunion recap in there of the 2-part reunion. That will be coming in the next week, of course, Wednesday night, because the challenge, All Stars Rivals, if you haven't heard, is on MTV proper. It is airing live. We will all watch it live together, unlike the All Star seasons of the past. And so we will be covering it late on Wednesday nights. It'll be there for you Thursday morning when you get up. The recaps will be coming starting next Wednesday night for the following 10 to 14 weeks, or however long this season ends up being. That's what we've got coming up. As for this podcast, now, we did way back, days within, literally, I think I posted within 24 hours of the cast being officially filming, everyone officially in the game, our instant cast reaction of All Stars 5. So that was a while ago. It is still available, and there's lots of thoughts on the cast and who I'm glad to have back, why the cast was what it was. There's lots of things in there that is evergreen and that you can go listen to and get some good stuff in it. However, at that moment when they started the game, we were a little confused. There's 2 women to every 1 man. There's maybe this 3-person frenemies type of format. We hadn't figured out that it was Rivals. We were on to something. We weren't quite there. And so there's a part of that podcast that doesn't make a lot of sense, because I made up some 3-person teams that didn't make a lot of sense. And now this version that we actually have does, or at least most of them do. So that's still good. That's there. But today we're previewing. We're going to do 3 things. First off, we're going to do a power rankings from worst to first, the teams going into the season, best chance to win this thing. That'll give us a chance to go team by team. And first, just give you a quick recap if you don't remember why some of these people are rivals. There's a few that no one remembers because maybe they aren't really that much of rivals, but we'll give a quick synopsis of this is where the rivalry is from, or where the relationship is from, and then a quick rundown of what I like about the team and their chances, etc., etc. That'll give us a chance to talk about all 13 of the teams. We'll do that first. Second, then, will just be a mismatch of general commentary and trailer breakdown, taking some of the things we see in the trailer and using those as jumping off points to talk about the location, the possible format, possible alliances, drama, etc., etc., just grab bag of fun things to discuss or that I'm hoping for or looking forward to. And then finally, we will lay out a bunch of predictions, finalists and winners picks, of course, first boot, most daily wins, best team, worst team as far as cohesiveness, all kinds of stuff. So power rankings, general commentary, predictions, that's what we've got for you in this podcast. We'll try to do so as quickly as we can. You've got 1 week to get prepared. And as always, I shouldn't say as always, but as most of the time, and as is the case in this instance, this is a spoiler-free podcast. Not just I won't be sharing spoilers, but I do not know any of the spoilers. Really nailed it. They did a great job with when they were filming this of being able to follow the accounts and seeing who's going out, who's getting on the planes, who's showing up, who's in the game. Good. Turn them off. Haven't seen anything since. Have 0% of this season spoiled for me. So you will have 0% of it spoiled here. This is just my thoughts, opinions, and actual predictions. I have now nailed 2 seasons in the past 9 or 10 or whatever I have covered as far as winners picks. That's actually a not terrible percentage given how many people are on each of these seasons that could win. So we will see if I can get a third win in that column. But no spoilers, just a bunch of thoughts, just looking forward to what I think is going to be a really, really good season, a huge potential season that I think is going to deliver. Let's dive in. All-Stars 5, aka All-Stars Rivals, aka Rivals 4 or Rivals 6, depending how you count vendettas and Final Reckoning. I'll shut up and get to it. Let's go. Kicking it off with the power rankings. We're going 13 to 1, bottom to top. We get to hit on every single team, talk about every single team. And this is, in mind, this is not based on how good of a rivalry it is. There's a couple people that have done really good write-ups about that. This is not based on how good of a cast or how much I'm looking forward to this team. This is based on where I think these teams stack up competitively and who has a shot to win this. The best shot to win this is in the best position to win this going in. I was very torn. I had some good kind of tiers worked out of where I felt there were some groupings, but then within that, it was a little bit, it's always a crapshoot, but this one very much felt like there kind of is a clear favorite to me, but there's also not at all a clear favorite to me. There was a group that stood out that is going to be at the top. So let's get to it. Let's start with last place. And, again, I'm excited for this whole cast. And so just because I think a few of them don't have any shot at winning and I'm going to have to put them at the bottom doesn't mean I'm not excited to see them and looking forward to watching them on my screens. But we start at the bottom. 13, Beth and Jonna. Maybe the most legit, recent beef we've had. There's a few recent beefs in this cast, and most of them are real and count and would be good rivals pairings in any situation. But this beef was very real because it really hit home, literally, and is going to be the one I think we see in the trailer. We get a glimpse of them talking about it, but is going to be one of the kind of most vicious because if you don't remember, back on All-Stars 3, Beth and Jonna were both there, and Beth was aware of some completely random rumors that had floated around about Jonna and MJ on All-Stars 2, where they won as partners in the end. And she spread some of those rumors in the house in All-Stars 3 about some infidelity in each of their marriages. And that's a pretty shitty thing to do, especially if you don't have anything to go off of yourself, except I heard some rumors, so I might as well say them here and stir some shit up. And eventually Beth quit the game in an elimination versus Jonna when it was clear she was going to lose and Jonna was going to have a bunch of help from the cast and everything else. So that's pretty messed up to put Jonna's literal life, as she says in the trailer, you tried to ruin my life. You tried to ruin my marriage back home. I have children. I have a husband and I am faithful and loving to him. And you tried to ruin all of that. So that's a real legit beef. So that's great. As for them competitively, why are they 13th on this list? There's no one for Beth to really be friends with in this cast. The other OGs are most of the people around that were around when Beth was on the show didn't like Beth, didn't get along with Beth. And so I don't really see her having friends in this cast or being able to build big alliances. What Jonna, certainly is very adept at that in the All-Stars world and in the game in general. But when Beth is a total outsider, she eventually quits. She kind of shuts down. She, even the skills she can bring to the table in a daily or in a limb, she isn't always willing to bring them in situations. And so I see this as one of those situations of this. Maybe that not that she quits, but that there isn't a lot of spirited effort on her part for this team. Now, could these two win an elimination or two, take out a top ranked in this power rankings team with a real shot? And then, yes, they absolutely could, because in an elimination, if they're given a shit, they could do some damage. Can they make a final? No, I don't think they can at all. And I don't think they could win a final if they somehow got there. So they're at the bottom of the list. Number 12 then is two OGs. Maybe the best rivalry we have here, even 20 years later. Maybe one of the best rivalries in the history of the challenge. Veronica and Katie. Truly great challenge rivalry. One of the earliest, maybe the first, like great all-star A+ level challenge rivalry. There's the gauntlet and Katie taking out all of her anger towards her team, mostly through Veronica, who probably was one of the more deserving of a lot of deserving people on that team of Katie's ire. There was then the Inferno that followed that up with a couple iconic screaming matches, yelling matches, Katie sticking it to her team, winning elimination after elimination. Iconic moments for her all around. Iconic moments for Veronica all around. They were early icons of the show, and they were one of the earliest great rivalries that absolutely hated each other. They've done other seasons together since, of course, in the last 20 years. But even 20 years later, this is still juicy, fantastic rivals pairing. You love to see it, but if this was an All-Stars 1 type cast, all OGs, this pair would be a lot higher on this list. Top half for sure, because they have great political games, they have great social games, and they can perform in the right settings within a daily elimination or what have you. But there isn't a lot of room for them to operate a great political game within this cast where they don't have many connections at all. And that's what it would take to get them to a final within this cast. And so I think they're going to be an early out. I don't really see a chance at a final, certainly a winning a final for them. I think Veronica missed her shot at a fourth ring. If she had one, it was on All-Stars 4. She got to that final, and then it became a final that was purely carnival games only, no super endurance, no crazy athleticism required. Just, there was an element of social game of like, were people going to benefit you with the stars thing, whatever that was. And then all carnival games. So if she was ever going to win a fourth, I feel like it was there. She had her shot. I don't see her and Katie doing super great here, but I do see them being very entertaining for whatever amount of time they are there. Moving on to number 11, we have Melissa and Nicole. And within this group of 13, it's about a little better than half and half as far as like kind of dud rivalries, and then good ones to great ones. It's a little bit better. It's a little bit on the good to great side more than duds, but there's a few that are kind of duds, and we'll talk about them all. This is the first of them. Melissa is so perfect she's pretty perfect for a cast member on any challenge season. But for a rival season, it's like, yeah, put her on the board. Who do you want to match her up with? We've got some options, okay? There's so many options. We could go super recent. She could be Corey's partner instead of Big T. We'll talk about them coming up, but, Corey betrayed the both of them on B-Fank. She could be Kayla's rival. She has Sylvia, who is here on this season. I think it was Nerese and her that threw drinks or had exchanged big words in the bar on B-Fank. There is a lot of options to pick from. It's a long list for Melissa and who her rivals could possibly be. And it's a great list, and I would have loved any of them. I don't love this pairing. Nicole and her made out on Vendettas. Were a little, had the littlest of showmances. Didn't really seem to hate each other after, have strong feelings. It was, pretty just kind of mutual, some making out, and went our separate ways once we were both eliminated from the season. So while there is a couple X's on this cast, and this is one that's kind of put forward as like, we've got rivals and X's here, and the X's just considered rivals. This one feels like a stretch, especially because there is so many good options for Melissa to be rivals partners with. But also, I should say, Melissa's an A cast member. I think I already said that. And Nicole was an A cast member until it was clouded by the constant Laurel Nicole stuff. So without Laurel there, or Cara there, or anyone really close to that situation, there's not even like a Ryan or someone, or anyone that would have been around that situation who would kind of bring it up or want to talk about it or anything like that. Without any of that around Nicole, maybe we can get the good cast member version of Nicole back in our lives that is interesting and chaotic in a good way, and not a way where we're like, do we really have to keep watching this episode after episode? So that is a good thing that they're both there in those situations. These two doing a puzzle together is going to be very funny to watch. They both had good moments and challenges. I don't really see a shot at them winning this game. Maybe a final, maybe. Who knows? But that's why they're here at 11. At number 10, of the couple of, we just said we're going to talk about a few duds as far as rivalries go. This is the biggest joke of them all. Ashley hates plenty of people. I'm sure she will decide or find a reason to hate Aneesa at some point this season. But these two, Aneesa and Ashley, have no beef. And it's one thing to put a pair on that has no beef. They've done it before. Every Rivals cast has had a couple like, are we sure about that one? Like, what are we really going off of here? But it's another thing to do that with one person who is a fan favorite that fans are desperate to be brought back into the fold and hate that she has been gone as long as she has been gone and was seemingly banned there or whatever for a minute or two. Everyone is so pumped for Ashley to come back. And then you partner her not only with someone who isn't one of her actual rivals, but you partner her with Aneesa, who is the number one candidate, the number one person that fans get outraged for consistently being casted with no storyline left. She's been on forever, and people have been over it for a lot of seasons. And so to put those two people together, it really kind of seems going in like hinders the explosiveness of like Ashley's back and she's going to be the star of this. And it's like, and everyone's so excited, but we're going to put her with the person who would dampen that excitement the most. And again, that's not saying anything directly about Aneesa. That is the fan reaction, mostly deserved. There is it goes way too far with Aneesa plenty of times, but it's mostly deserved of just like, does she have to be on every season? We've been over the story. There is no story left for a long time. So to put Ashley in, and everyone gets so excited. And then with Aneesa, it's like, oh, okay, you're really tamping that down a little bit. They're the biggest question mark of a team in the game for me personally. I think they have the highest variance of there's a world where they're the easiest out. No one is worried about these two on this season. They're just over there yelling at each other or bickering and not performing well. And that's the bottom, the bad version. Or there is also a version where they're contending to win any and every daily. They get along well enough. And both of them being really good daily challenge competitors certainly comes out. Ashley is elite, multi-time champion. Also, multiple-time early season flameout, which is one of the many things that makes her an amazing cast member. Like, it could go either way. She could win in pretty stunning fashion, in dominant fashion even, or she could go home second and then be brought back for an injury and go home fourth at the same time. Like, anything's possible with her. Aneesa, very good at dailies that suit her, very good at the elims that suit her, both of which are probably a slight majority as far as the dailies and elims that suit her. So she's I've had this argument plenty of times with challenge folks. She's a very good daily challenge person. She is a good elimination, and she's pretty bad at your traditional final. But that's a good team on paper as far as like chance to get to a final would go, especially with some friends for both of them in the house. But it's Ashley. She's volatile. Aneesa is always going to have, one good attempt at some screen time or storyline. So I think there's no chance of escaping the volatility that this team could provide, because Aneesa will want one little, let's have a big conversation about something, or let me just butt my nose into something else going on because we're halfway through this thing and I got to get on the camera. I'm a professional at this. I know what I'm doing. And somehow, some way, this team's they're going to blow up. They could be the first boot in an epic flame out. They might make the final and get like a respectable third, even second, who knows? But I don't think a win is in the cards. So we're slotting them at number 10. Number 9, Devon and Shane, a team I am thrilled to see back on this season. These are some real frenemies. They did yell at each other a good bit back there on Final Reckoning. They called each other bitches, but you could always tell, even as they argued, because it was arguing because they were supposed to be working together, and even against kind of her own game, Devon didn't go with what Shane wanted. It was a whole thing. There was a lot of yelling. There's the bitches, the whole thing. But amongst all of it, you could tell, I always felt like I could tell, there was a respect level of like, we're very similar people here. We should be friends, but at this moment, we're going to butt heads and yell at each other, and that's what it's going to be. So, Final Reckoning, it had its blow-ups. It had an apology from Shane at the reunion. I think these two actually end up getting along. Just maybe they'll have their loud arguments from time to time, but I don't think those loud arguments are going to hurt their game in any way. And I'm very excited for them. I think they're the number one team. I would be the most interested in an honest briefing of their current fitness level and habits. It would be amazing to get like an actual honest rundown heading into every season of like every person on the cast. Like, what have they been doing? They've been hitting the gym. What kind of things they've been doing? How ready for this? How invested in this are they, or are they not? This would be the number one team on this season that I would move up and down this list based on if I could get that honest briefing, because they can politic. I like this cast for them a lot to build a nice alliance, make deals. We'll talk about that possible alliance in the next long segment. I think they can do puzzles. I think they can do the oddball weird shit just fine. If you tell me they've been working out for a while before, I'd move them up this list a few spots for sure. If you told me neither had seen a gym in many months before, then I'd think a final appearance is best case off of a strong social game, but final appearance would be the best I would give them at that point. Number 8, we've got two OGs and a very new rivalry for these two OGs, Steve and Adam. Out of nowhere rivals from All Stars 4. They were working mostly together. They had been friends, having done, the one season of Flagship Steve had ever done. Adam was there. They were buddies, road rules, the whole thing. Adam then voted in Steve multiple times. Steve won all those eliminations. Steve took Adam's star multiple times. The second time was the dagger, took it, gave it to Ace. There was only one chance for Adam to get it back. He did not get to participate in the final then, and he was very, very upset about it. He had strong words, some pretty wild, some confessionals that felt out of context in the moment, that felt very much, as I still feel now, we missed something, because I get why you're pissed off about this, but you threw the guy in. He had to take someone's, and it like kind of made sense that he was going to take yours and his limited one or two options that he had and give it to your other buddy Ace. So the confessionals seemed wild and crazy. They were harsh. But it's definitely the makings of a rivalry. So I definitely believe there is real bad blood here. And I believe maybe we didn't see quite all of whatever happened between them, or the conversations that maybe were had, or deals that were struck, or anything of that nature. But it's a very real rivalry. It's very new, even though these two are quite OG, especially in this cast. They both did well on All Stars 4. Adam does endurance stuff for just fun on the side, big biker. So that's a big plus in the event of like a traditional final. And if they were in one, they're going to really need to keep Veronica Katie and Beth and Jonna in the game to have some allies. Expect Veronica and Katie and Adam and Steve are going to be thick as thieves from the beginning. I can only imagine. And Beth, I guess, would have to be like, can I get in the OG thing over here? Like, is there any room for me? I know most of you hate me anyways. But feels like, this team is a top bet to be in elimination early and often, but maybe do well. Like, they're my bet to go 2-1 in eliminations, of just be like the team that like is up for a limb 5 times, ends up in their 3. They win the first couple, knock out some teams, but somewhere near in the back half, final third of the season, they end up bowing out gracefully. That's kind of where I see them. So we slot them in at number 8. Then at 7, we've got Nany and Turbo. A very good rivals pairing here. Partners who loved each other, to allies who bickered but defended, to Nany finally giving up on trying to help this complete and utter wild card, and I'm being kind, in Turbo, and throwing him into an elimination that he was never going to win, that the whole house was against him on Ride or Dies. He loses, he goes home. He's back with longer hair, more luscious beard than ever, same weird confessionals as ever. And it's a deserved and fun pair to have in a rivals game. This is one of the pairings that like feels the most like if the Flagship just truly did another Rivals season of like, yeah, this is good. This is just like perfectly solid Rivals pairing right here. If it was just playing the games, if this was Champs versus Stars and you just had to show up from your own humble abode and say what's up to your partner and go do the game, and when the game was done, you could go back to wherever you wanted and you didn't have to live in the house together. If it was just that, Turbo and Nany would be a great team. Turbo is great at this game, admittedly, and Nany is very solid, very good at this game. But there is a house, there is a social game, there is a political game, and Turbo is hot garbage at that. And Nany is, again, solid for the most part at all of that. They are probably, I would think they're the team in the house that's like viewed as a real threat to win, combined with no one likes Turbo, means I think they fall short of a final because they're going to end up in a couple eliminations with people. The easy 1-2 of like, we don't like that guy. We don't want to work with him. Nany, we like you, but sorry, you're with Turbo. You guys are a threat. Blah, blah, blah. You're an elimination. You're in again if you win. You're in again if you win. And so it's a good team on paper for just the actual competition side of things, but working together, living in that house, Turbo, it just doesn't work out. So they've got to be right here, square, almost square in the middle. They come in at 7. At 6, we've got Ashley and Dario. They dated on and after Invasion of the Champions. They were still dating when Dario was on Dirty 30. They broke up sometime after that. So they had a real, like, a year or two relationship. It wasn't just a single showmance on a single season. They were together for a while off of the show. No idea what the breakup was like. But this is genuine exes and two people I am happy to have back on the challenge. So I'm very here for this pairing. I like it. And I'm sure we will get plenty of backstory on like, was it, whether it was a messy breakup or not, I bet we're going to be told it was a messy breakup. You can bet on that. I always liked Dario and Raffi for that matter. Bring him back too. If there was anyone worth bringing back from Bloodlines, there was actually a few standouts. But I like Dario a lot. I'm interested to see him back. Ashley's a champ who didn't super impress on any season after that first one where she won. 3/4 of that winning team from Real World San Diego is on this season, sans Zach. But she always seemed like she was in good shape. She could get along with everyone. This could be the team that I would see as like everyone becomes friends with them. Everyone just likes Ashley and Dario. They bring good vibes to the house. They encourage casual pool parties. I see them just being a very likable pair in the house that everyone likes. No one wants to like throw in or anything like that, but maybe still they're not like in the alliance. So they end up in there sometime down. I don't know if Dario is single. I sure hope so. Please let him be single. There's basically no one for him to like try to hook up with or have a romance with here, but I like the challenge for him. Regardless, I think they're right in the middle because I'm not honestly sure where to put them. There is a world where they're like the first boot. There is a world where their likability and their general, being goodish at the challenges gets them to a final. So they're square in the middle. They're at number 6. Number 5, then, Corey and Big T. Another very recent rivalry pairing from B-Fank, Challenge 39, Battle for a New Champion. Corey backstabbed, betrayed Big T and Melissa, as we noted earlier, after the three of them had gotten very tight throughout the season. Good friends, being there for Big T's coming out party, the whole thing. And then suddenly he's given a huge speech at a deliberation where it was kind of unnecessary. The decision was more or less made. And he's like, let me go ahead and blow up what little is left of Big T and Melissa's game while blowing up what maybe little is left of my game, even if it momentarily helped him out a little bit. His betrayal was just like, it was so unnecessary that it just made it a lot worse. It was like, dude, this was unneeded. You didn't need to really do any of this. The same things were going to probably happen and play out the same way without him doing any of it in the manner he did, the harshness that he did. So there was real bad blood there, actual, real, legit bad blood. But I think they're the most likely to have squashed whatever bad blood that was there a long time ago. Real remorse from Corey, the whole thing. And if they haven't, I feel like they're the most likely to, day 2, we're getting the tearful hug of like, forgive and forget let's move on. I love you. We were friends and now we're partners and this is awesome and we can win this thing. Let's go. I see them being besties by the end of this, and not even by the end, by very few days into this. I also think they could be a dynamite team. Big T has one glaring weakness. Big T is like legitimately good at this game, but she has one glaring weakness, and it's how short she is. It is not how small or weak or any of that stuff. If you ever say that, you're wrong. She is a like legitimately solid athlete. She's just really short. She's just really short. So when it becomes something very physical or strength-based or size and advantage, which isn't a lot of things, as we talk about often, gets overestimated how much of that there is, but there is enough of that if it's like that big of a weakness for you, it's likely to come up more often than not, at least once for you in the season, and put you in a really bad position where you're going to struggle. But she's partnered with Corey. Corey is the biggest dude in the house by a mile. He is probably the strongest dude in the house by a mile. So perfect fit. On the off chance they come up against, hey, this daily challenge is wrestling, one-on-one mud wrestling or whatever. Oh, Big T might bow out of that one early. She probably puts up a good fight, but she probably bows out a little early. And Corey's like, hey, I got this on this one. And so she's pretty good. And her glaring weakness is kind of removed by her partner, which means she's really good, I think, at this. And I think Corey's pretty good at this, and maybe even really good eventually at this. So they can both do puzzles. They can both do the social game. They are the first of the 5 teams at this spot, in the 5th spot, 5 teams that I believe have a real shot, a realistic shot to win. Meaning, I would give every team 1% chance. It's not like I'm giving anyone 0% chance, but basically everyone we've talked about so far, it's in the very, very low single digits, if not tenths of percents or whatever. This is the first team of 5 that I think, I don't know what it is, 5, 10%, whatever it is, but like a real shot that I could see them. I can envision it. I see the path. I see them doing well in the final. I see a way where they could walk away from this champions of this season. Then in the 4th spot, we have another newer rivalry, KellyAnne and Sylvia. They definitely got into it on All-Stars 3. They left that season on very sour terms. It's a good basis for a rivalry, especially considering both women have shown in their times on the show in other seasons and away from each other that they will hold on to a rivalry or a grudge or a wrongdoing. So we can imagine that, the couple yelling matches, the flipping off on the way out have been on each other's minds, and that has not gone away, and neither of them don't strike me as the type of people who, a month later were like, whatever, we were making TV. Good for you. And I think they both thought of like, man, screw that person. I think there was a lot more of that going on for both of them. They're my dark horse team for sure. I think they're both very good at this game across the board. I think Sylvia has the biggest alliance going into the game with the Lavender Ladies reuniting, or a large portion of them, Sylvia, Shane, and Ashley, plus their partners, plus some others. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But I think she's got a good alliance going in. I think they're both good at the game. I think there is a world where Sylvia kind of runs this house. Like there was a minute on All-Stars 3 where Sylvia, she definitely thought she was running the house. She wasn't necessarily, but she also found a way to wield some power for sure. And I think there's a way where she's kind of the ringleader of the strong alliance on this season, and this team coasts to a final, and they're a legitimate threat to win when they get there. Then in 3rd, I have Devin and Leroy. There is nothing to go off of here. Along with Aneesa and Ashley, this is the most BS rivalry that there is. I do not know. As is rumored with Aneesa and Ashley, I don't think I said there was rumors like it was supposed to be someone else with Ashley or someone else with Aneesa, and it didn't work out, so they just kind of threw them together. Devin has real rivalries to pick from. In a way, Leroy is like the bananas stand-in here. You could just be like, it's Devin and bananas, but they didn't call bananas. It's Leroy instead. Leroy's banana stand-in. And you're like, okay, I see that. They've never worked together. They've usually been on opposite sides of the game, but there is no argument even to really point at that I'm remembering off the top of my head. Maybe there is. They were kind of on opposite sides of the game in Double Agents. Spies, he wasn't on Spies, Lies, and Allies. There was some more Battle of the Era stuff we didn't see that we're going to learn about. I don't know, but not a lot to go out. They're going to really be stretching when they fill us in on this heated rivalry that these two have. They are two of the 5 people who were on Battle of the Eras filming in the same location, Vietnam. We'll talk more about that in a second. But Devin and Leroy were there. Jonna was there, of course. And who else? Pulling back up the list here. Aneesa was there and Katie. But 3 of those people, Katie, I guess Aneesa went home second. Katie went home first for Era 1, but both very quickly. Leroy went home right at the beginning. Jonna and Devin made it a little ways in, but not super duper far. Devin made it the furthest of anyone that then came back and did this season immediately. Don't know that that matters in any real way. Leroy is now on his 3rd season of retirement. Retirement Leroy is on season 3, which is just fantastic. But the challenge gods have given him another great shot. Given Leroy an amazing shot once again. Devin, for anyone that, I think I've done the rant before. I've semi put him kind of historically where I think he is, but Devin is a damn good challenger. He is really freaking good. There's a reason he won. There's a reason he's been competitive on a lot of the seasons that he's been on. And they are one of the 2 male pairs. This season features 5 female pairs, 2 male pairs, and 6 male-female pairs. That could be an advantage sometimes. That could be a disadvantage sometimes. They should probably be at the top of this list. Like, it is a recent champion, and Leroy, who's one of the better ones to have never won, but just has never gotten over the hump. But I bumped them to 3rd because, I wouldn't argue with you if you wanted to claim they're the favorites, but just, I think Devin kind of being on the outs with this cast, like not a lot of friends for him as he's had the last few. He's done fine when he hasn't had friends before, but he's kind of gotten used to having friends there. I think recent champs like Devin are a target for people on this. And so, yeah, I bump him to 3rd. If you want to argue they should be the favorites, I wouldn't be like, you're completely wrong. I'd be like, yeah, it's very subjective. And again, I think there's 5 teams that I give an actual real shot to win this. They're one of them. Maybe they're the favorite. I've got them at 3rd. And coming in above them or below them, however you want to look at this, but better than them in my power rankings, at number 2, Frank and Sam. If you listened to my instant cast reactions way back when, huge Frank fan right here. Couldn't be more excited. Couldn't be more thrilled. The rest of the cast didn't matter. I was all in on this season because Frank was back, and that's all it took for me. It's all I need. So I am thrilled. And I'm very, very interested in watching these 2 together. They won together, of course, on Sam's only season. Back again, Ashley and Zach and Frank and Sam. Battle Seasons 2, Season 23. They won, very fraught with ugly behavior going towards Sam from Frank and Zach. But a lot Frank, who is the one here and is obviously the partner here and the rival here. He has apologized a lot in recent years, many times over. He has stopped with the apologies, we're gonna be done with that and move on. Which I agree. He was very public plenty of times. She has gone as far as going on Zach's pod to kind of clear the air with him and kind of the whole thing, the whole situation, and look back at it and everything else. And so this is one of our best rivals pairs from a rivalry perspective, but is also our best and most likely the redemption arc of being able to show those clips and then show them now and kind of repairing some of that trauma from the past and working well together and trying to better each other as people, the whole thing. And so they're going to get a ton of screen time for whatever amount of time they're there. I'm going to love it. I hope you'll love it as well. Frank is an all-time cast member. I think he's a fantastic competitor. Sam was great on her 1 season. These 2, I think, are kind of the enforcers of the house. They're going to be ones especially Frank is going to pop off on people. I don't think that's ever going to go away. It might be in a more reasonable way as far as who deserves it or not and how quick the trigger is, but it's still going to be pulled, I would imagine. And I think these 2 are going to kind of be looked at as kind of that enforcer type. Everyone is a little bit intimidated by them. Not even they're going to beat me, but just oh man. They're around and they kind of have a little bit of an aura to them at the challenges and everything else. But Frank is that A+ cast member for a reason. He is volatile. Okay. I love their chances in dailies and limbs and in joining whatever ends up being the majority alliance. A final might test their partnership and their abilities a bit more than I'd like, but I think they deserve to be right near the top of these rankings. They certainly deserve to be in the group of 5 that I think could definitely win. Firm chance at their second win together. I've got Frank and Sam at number 2, which means, you guessed it, my guy, Faysal and Amber are coming in at number 1. Legit beef here. Amber is the Big Brother Alliance member that never really was. They just kind of never really actually let her in the Casey, Josh, Fessy alliance at any real point. Faysal is one of many who has been nice to Amber's face, but behind closed doors and confessional booths, not as nice nearly as much. He actively didn't want her as a partner on Double Agents, and then she went on to win while he DQ'd with an injured partner and a cup full of slop that he wouldn't drink. Their argument over pizza on SLA got him sent home eventually as he and Josh got into it. The smush heard around the world that shouldn't have got him DQ'd, but did. And so there's lots to work with here of like a real, just like a nice simmering rivalry of like nothing crazy, nothing out of this world, but these two definitely are not two that you would expect to work well together when put together as partners, but are also on paper as good of a team as we have here in this season. She is a champ who does well every time she plays and whose only glaring weakness is math, which doesn't come up a lot, but in recent seasons, it has started to come up more and more and sign like a vital thing. Like it can really screw you if you can't do math at all. And she respectfully cannot do math at all, but she is very good at everything else and great at a few of the things that are asked of you. Fessy's great at math. So check. As long as you always get to do it together, the only single thing that brings down champ Amber is math, and Fessy's great at it. So we're good there. That weakness is covered. His weakness, maybe his persona around the house, how he is viewed. You know, she can't quite cover that in the past, but I've always like, I feel like we're finally at the breaking point of like, no one's ever given a reason why they don't like Amber. It's always just been seemed, because we never get a reason season after season. It seems like a little bit of like, I don't know, she's smart, attractive, cool, and she won her first season, and maybe it's just a little bit of like, we don't like, she's going to be a big star if we all like her. So maybe we don't. I don't know. We've never got a reason. So I don't know. Maybe this is finally the one where it's like, yeah, everyone likes Amber because Amber's cool and awesome and fun and we all like her. And that would help Fessy's big weakness of not everyone, you know, really totally liking him. He's one of the best daily challenge competitors in the history of the game. Absolutely capable of winning this game. Even his haters, of which there are many, should be willing to admit that. This is the best team on paper. They'd be my pick if all 13 teams ran a final. If this was just like, there's no season. We start with the final, we end with the final. All 13 of you run it. They would be my pick to win said final. Do they get along? Do they make enough friends? Does Amber kind of just want to go back to her kid and Chauncey a couple weeks and a couple paychecks in? All legit questions. Again, there is no overwhelming favorite in my book on this season, but they still are the team I am putting at number 1, the top of my list, the top of the power rankings, Amber and Fessy. And of course, as the founder of the Fessy Fan Club for life, you know this is the team I am rooting for. All right, this was supposed to be a quick podcast, and we are a long, long ways in. So I will try to go very quickly through the rest of this. We're going to go just kind of some random things, a hodgepodge of stuff, all somewhat related to a few things from the trailer that we will point out, but this will not be a shot-by-shot breakdown of the trailer. Let's dive in. Let's start with the location. The location is the same. If you watch the trailer and you're like, oh, some of this looks a little familiar, that's because it is. They're in Vietnam. They filmed this immediately after Battle of the Eras. They did not use the same house, which I think will be more than likely be a very good thing for the cast of the Battle of the Eras cast. Didn't totally love the living situation, so it probably will be better, but they are going to be using a lot of the same daily challenge locations. Expect them to look similar. I do not think this will be a ride or dies USA 2 World Championship situation where it's like, hey, the same daily challenge is used on 4 seasons if you watch Australia and UK and all the rest. But I do think we're going to see some very similar daily challenges in the same spots, using some of the same equipment, such as, you know, we see them on the top of the same very tall building in downtown, whichever city that is. We see them going over a cliff in a buggy, not a car, but kind of jumping off the cliff the same way they did at the end of Battle of the Eras, et cetera, et cetera. We will see a lot of the same locations. And those locations, it should be said, were long drives from the house on Battle of the Eras. They were kind of all over Vietnam, which means maybe we got a little bus footage on Battle of the Eras. It was a nice throwback. Like, let's see what goes down on these buses. This chaotic cast, potential for fights, potential for arguments. I think we're going to get some good old-fashioned bus footage, bus arguments on these long drives to these different locations around Vietnam. Next is the format of the show. There's a moment in the trailer where Nany just gets up and storms across the room telling Turbo it is simply too early for this shit. Enough. It's a great moment. I'm glad to see Nany fired up. And it clearly, in that moment, I paused it and was like, hey, this looks like a large group deliberation. They're right after a challenge. They're all still in their gear. They're all sweaty and gross or whatever. And everyone is sitting in a room together. And it seems like they're, having a deliberation of sorts. I hope that is the case. That would be great. It would be awful if what I actually think is happening in that moment is what's happening, which is I think this is the group waiting on the 2 to 4 people at most to make a decision or that are up for elimination. These are the folks waiting while the deliberation happens, the nominations happen somewhere else. I hope it's the former. I hope we get large group nominations, deliberations, votes, everyone voting, that sort of thing. But I do think this is the group waiting for the actual small group, because we see a Devin Dario face-off where they very planned, walk up to each other and stop face to face before what looks like they're about to turn and walk at the camera. If the clip went on and they're in their dress clothes or whatever you want to call them, regular clothes. And that looks like a kind of lead in to a deliberation where they're maybe the two up for a limb or something like that. And so I think this is going to be the team in power is picking between 1 or 2 teams, small nomination ceremony. But I want the old school rival style format. I want the winner is safe. The loser is straight in. The whole house votes on the second team to go in. The winner doesn't vote. They are the tie-breaking vote if there is a tie or something to that effect. And I want TJ there in person. I want TJ there in person so bad, asking them the votes. I want back on Rivals 2 and 3 and 1, TJ walking in and everyone going around the room and voting old school style. I love it. I want to see it. I'm thinking from the couple scenes we get here that is not going to be the case, though. The dailies in the eliminations. It looks like, and I would guess, this is going to be very Battle of the Eras style, because again, they're reusing a lot of this stuff. The arena is the same location. A lot of the daily challenge locations are the same. And so I think this is going to be very much like what Battle of the Eras was, in that the dailies themselves are very physical, athletic heavy, that, strength to the people that are strong or are athletic or have endurance, and that there's going to be a lot of physicality and athleticism involved in the daily challenges. And then the eliminations are going to be more your kind of random games that take athleticism, sure, but are mostly kind of your toss up style, random things. No one's done this or practiced this specific thing. And then who knows for a final? We don't see any of the final, obviously, in the trailer, nor should we. And so who knows? What if the Sinister is back? What if it's a all swimming final again? I certainly hope not, but I also don't want it to be All-Stars 4 pure carnival games. I want there to be a little bit of a physical endurance, athleticism element, a more traditional final, if you will. And then the drama. And within the drama, I should say one of the biggest things I said on the instant cast reactions, and one of the biggest things to remember going into this season, so I will bring it back up, is that with the cast itself, they filmed this immediately after Battle of the Eras, immediately, within weeks after, which is why there is, I was actually even surprised there's 5 of the 26 people that were on Battle of the Eras that are then on this season. But when people were initially outraged, and maybe you still are, or maybe you're still confused if you haven't thought about it since we heard about the cast, or you never heard the cast until they actually announced the season properly in the last couple of weeks. And you're like, what the hell? How's this All-Stars? There's new, Corey, he just started on the show, et cetera, et cetera. You have to remember that for Battle of the Eras, they brought 40 cast members, and they brought OGs and newbies alike, 40 across the board, which is insane. And these people have lives. And so to then ask any of those same people to turn around and do another season in Vietnam immediately was a big ask that was never going to be, received well from most of the OGs that they could possibly have that you might think of in an all-stars type of situation. And then a bunch of the other folks that are all dream scenarios for us that are never coming back are never coming back. And so why you have this mix of some new returns, some Franks of the world that like haven't been around in forever, and some younger folks mixed with some older OGs that weren't on Battle of the Eras like a Veronica or a Beth, all of that is because of this situation of like, you casted 40 people and then you immediately wanted 24 to do the next season a few weeks after. It was a tall order. That's why the cast is the way it is. But I still love the cast. And as I've said throughout this, the chance for drama, the chance for chaos is high with this cast. They've got to show us the goods in the trailer. That's how a trailer works. They've got to get us excited. But I feel like they did a great job with this trailer. There was a lot to be shown, but I feel like it wasn't like, just showing us everything they got, and now there's not actually going to be anything new or exciting to see. I think there was plenty to go around. They got to pick and choose what they wanted to show or what they didn't. And, I believe this cast is going to really, really deliver. Ashley, Shane, Devon, Frank, Nany in the right setting, which I think this is, Sylvia, Melissa, KellyAnne, Veronica, Beth, Devin, Turbo. Lot of potential for blowups, for arguments, for, alliances broken, for new rivalries formed. A lot of potential for drama, and the fun kind, the kind that, we can not feel awful about ourselves for watching. Not All-Stars 4, Laurel, Nicole, whatever that was, drama that we're like, not really interested and kind of don't love that we're watching this. The good stuff, the stuff we all love, the reason Rivals seasons, every one of them has been pretty damn good to great to the best seasons of all time. I think that's what we're going to get here. Now for some predictions. We'll wrap it up with some predictions here. And there's a bunch of them to make. Of course, picking the winners is the biggest one, but there's a few I want to do before that. The team that gets along the best. I alluded to these as I went through all 13 of them, but the team I think gets along the best is Corey and Big T. I'll be interested to see if these ones I'm actually more interested than like who makes the final and who wins, as far as can I get these right. It's very subjective how we're going to say that. I think more than one team is going to get along at some point, but I think Corey and Big T are going to get along the best. Team that gets along the worst, on the flip side, I think is Beth and Jonna or Turbo and Nany. I'm going to go Beth and Jonna because, again, the beef between them is like, you said some wild rumor shit that could like literally ruin my entire life. And that wasn't cool. And so that's, there's a lot of legit beef around here, but that one is just like the one that's like the most festering, like, I actually hate you. I like really, really, really don't want to be around you. And then it's Beth on top of all of it that like her reputation is she's the instigator, or sometimes isn't, but the reputation is like 70% fair, 30% unfair. And yeah, so I think those two get along the worst, or Turbo and Nany is a backup pick on that side. First boot, I think it's Veronica and Katie. I just don't think their hearts are going to be 100% in it. I don't think they have like quick friendships to make to like, they've got good social game in them. Veronica, of course, has great social game within her. I don't see Latchin making the alliances early. And I just feel like first daily, they're going to make them do something pretty outrageous. They lose. They go into the elimination. They lose. It's a crapshoot trying to guess first boot on any given season. I don't feel great about making that prediction any given season. I don't feel great about this one. Veronica, original face of the franchise, 3-time champ. Katie, icon, both icons. Love them to death. They're still my prediction for the first boot. Prediction for the most daily wins, Amber and Faysal. Now, this is, if they all did all of the daily challenges, I would feel great about this prediction. I think they're going to be an amazing daily challenge team. But that doesn't mean they would even win the most, because you still have to also kind of like be there for the whole season to have your chances at winning the most. But sometimes not. You could win like 3 of the first 4, and then the one you lose, you go into elimination, lose, and 3 is the most anyone wins. So Amber and Faysal is my pick for the most daily wins. The alliance that runs the game. Lavender Ladies and Friends. Okay. Ashley with partner Aneesa, Sylvia with partner KellyAnne, Shane with partner Devon, Melissa and Nicole, Corey and Big T, Frank and Sam as the 3 teams that I could see, especially like Melissa and Corey and Big T, working together, and Frank and Corey and Melissa all kind of being like, we could be in the Lavender Lady. That sounds like an alliance we could be a part of. We think all of you are pretty cool. We like you. I can see the personalities working. I could see those 6 teams, again, Ashley, Aneesa, Sylvia, KellyAnne, Shane, Devon, Melissa, Nicole, Corey, Big T, Frank, Sam. I could see those 6 teams based around the trio of Lavender Ladies at the core being the alliance that runs the game. If they did that those 6 from the start, you already have the majority from the very, very start of the game. The couple kind of weaker linked teams, or at least perceived on paper as weaker linked teams, are not a part of it. The concern, if that was a real alliance, would be, well, we've left Faysal and Amber and Devin and Leroy over here, and those 2 could be really good at daily challenges. And if they win and are in power, not great. If that ends up, we create that opposition. But I think the Lavender Ladies and Friends run this game. That is a prediction. And then the finalist. I'll pick 4 teams. I would assume 4 teams. I hope it's at least 4. It would be great to be 5, but I'll go with picking 4. I think that's how many make the final. I'm going a little off the board here. I'm not just going with my top 4 power rankings. Not really at all. I'm going with Frank and Sam, KellyAnne and Sylvia, Corey and Big T, Ashley and Dario. So I am definitely thinking that alliance I just named 3 of the teams from it. I think they're going to be in good spots. And then Ashley and Dario are kind of the floaters. They're like, wait, they're still here? Well, we love them. We've enjoyed hanging out with them, but I didn't realize they were still here. Now they're in the final. I think those 4 make it. I think some of the favorites that I've listed are knocked out. And I think of those 4 teams, the winner's pick then would be Corey and Big T. I think Corey and Big T get the win. I think it's a huge deal. I love it for the 2 of them. I think they'd be a really good team in a final together. I think they can get there. I think they can get the win. Obviously, as I said before, I'm rooting for Faysal and Amber. I have them as the top power rank. I have them as the best team in a final if they made a final together. But I don't think I'm going to get what I want, is mostly why I'm not picking them to win or even picking them to make the final. I feel like I have disappointment coming my way and rooting for them and being upset at some point during the season. And so I'm leaving them out of my finalist or winners predictions. But I hope I am wrong, because I want them to win. But Corey and Big T would be up there as far as other teams I am rooting for. They might even be second. As far as Frank and Sam are probably second, because I just love Frank and the story would be cool. And assuming that they are nice to each other and Frank's nice to Sam this time around, that'd be such a cool story. So maybe they're in second, but Corey and Big T are fighting for second as far as who I'm rooting for. They're going to be my pick. I think they can make the final. I think they can win. I think they're a really good team. And I think this is going to be a really, really good season. So that is your extremely long, nearly an hour here, All-Stars 5 season preview. We made predictions. We talked a bunch of general stuff. We talked about every single one of the teams. Again, power rankings for you one more time. Amber Faysal 1. Frank Sam 2, Devin Leroy 3, KellyAnne Sylvia 4, Corey Big T 5, Ashley Dario 6, Nany Turbo 7, Steve Adam 8, Davon Shane 9, Ashley Aneesa 10, Melissa Nicole 11, Veronica Katie 12, and Beth and Jonna 13. I bet those will be completely and wildly changed after one episode, which will be next Wednesday night. MTV, get your YouTube TV subscriptions, get your cable package, get your login from a friend, get your Reddit subreddit, find the person who somehow records it and sends out the links afterwards. Whatever you got to do, tune in MTV next week, Wednesday night, for the premiere. If there is a Monday surprise launch special of any kind, we will, of course, be here to cover it. Otherwise, I'll be back late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning for you, recapping it all the way through All-Stars 5, Rivals 6, Rivals 4, whatever you want to call it. 2 semicolons required, 1 great season. Thanks for being here as always. I will talk to you again this weekend for one last chat about Battle of the Eras, and then next week, All-Stars 5. Until then, peace.